What happens when God is the one who places you in a season of discomfort, in a season of tension, in a season of conflict? God was the one who placed him in the valley. Here's the question: can you trust God when he placed you somewhere where you really don't want to be? Here's what I want to tell you: if God has you in the valley, then he has you there on purpose. Songwriter said he's intentional. I love that when people say, a songwriter. Songwriter said he made a way. Songwriter said, thank you for being God. Songwriter said. So God placed him in the valley. God placed him in the low place. I saw that, but I didn't see the next part. Verse 2, I never saw the next part. Not only did God place him in the valley, but the Bible says he led me back and forth among them. Can't just read the Bible. You got to read the Bible. It's one thing to be placed in the valley. It's another thing to be led around the valley. So he leads Ezekiel back and forth among them. And I told you, I asked the Bible questions. God, why would you lead him back and forth through the valley? Maybe God was leading him back and forth to evaluate the very thing that he was called to speak to. Here's something worth writing down. You should always assess what you've been called to. In other words, let me just make it very easy for you. How knowledgeable are you about the area of impact you've been called to? It's one thing to know what you're called to. It's another thing to know about the thing that you're called to. Why is this important? Because you demonstrate your respect to the call of God, not by just being active, but by being informed. Ask the question, am I informed? Come on, ask yourself, am I really informed? I met people, and I love meeting people who are passionate about the call of their life. I just feel so called. Every time somebody asks me for money, I just feel called to the poor. I feel called to the homeless. I feel there's a burden on me. I can't even sleep at night. And that's beautiful. That's amazing. And typically in ministry, we promote that. We say, hey, if you feel called, if you feel passionate, go after it. Run after it. Go for what God has called you to. But here's the only problem with that. If you start doing what's in your heart without proper information, you will be effective. I can't tell you half the truth. I got to tell you the whole truth. You'll be effective. You'll make impact. Dozens, if not hundreds, will be affected by the ministry God placed in your heart. But there's a difference between making moves and maximizing. And oftentimes we shout about being effective. Man, 100 people got saved. Oh my God, God did something great. But here's the question. Were you called to reach 100 or 1,000? And you're able to maximize on something when you're informed about it. My God, it's just not enough to be called to the poor. What could happen if you were informed about where they were actually located in your community and what they actually needed in your community? Oh my God. Tell somebody, you got to get informed. You got to get informed. You got to get informed. I remember one time in college, this is a true story. I was hanging out one time with a friend of mine, Tunde Ojo. This is my brother, man. We're the best boys in college. We used to hang every day. We was hanging out Statesboro Place, my apartment, 402B. I was hanging out, I was playing video games. And I always was a big dreamer, always. It didn't just start. At this time, I was probably 20, 21, big dreams. I remember telling him, this is a true story. I said, man, one day, and I was so pure and I was so sincere. I said, man, one day, I want to go to Africa and I want to just give out P2s, PlayStation 2s. That's how old I am. I want to give out PlayStation 2s. I'm going to go and I'm just going to give them out. I'm going to give it out. And I don't know what I was expecting his reaction to be, but it was not. He bust my bubble in 1 second. And he stopped playing the game. We're playing the game, and he looked at me and said, P2s? Because he was from Africa. In a certain part that he was from, he said, P2s? We don't need P2s. We need food. And I remember that, and I remember feeling so embarrassed. But the thing was that I had, beware of uninformed passion. So sometimes, Ezekiel, God will slow you down so that you can evaluate what you're called to. We honor God not just by being active, but by being informed. The more you know, the more impact you'll make. I heard a story once before, and it's probably fictional, but it's a great story. I mean, in the early 1900s, there were two men. And they both got an opportunity, but the opportunity was across country. And they said, hey, man, if you go across country, there's this opportunity waiting for you. And so both of the men were excited. One of the men immediately started walking. He immediately started walking and hitchhiking across the country. The other man ran to the library, and he went to the library. And several days later, maybe even weeks later, what happened was they both arrived to the place. And one of the men who started walking and hitchhiking, he was beat up, he was bruised, he was tired, he was dirty, and he got there and he was looking, he was like, where's the opportunity? Oh my God, I'm ready for it. It took all I had to get here. And the other man came in fresh and clean and smelling good and excited. And the man who was beat down said, man, why are you so clean and excited? And the man told him, he said, because although you left before me, and although you started moving towards the destination, he said, I went to the library. And while I was at the library, I started researching, and I found out about these boys from North Carolina called the Wright brothers. And I researched this thing that was just invented called the airplane. So this morning, what I did was I woke up, I ate breakfast, I took a shower, and I got on this thing called the airplane. And so although you left before me, I'm able to get there, watch this, healthier because I was informed. And I'm afraid we have so many believers who we teach to shout and be passionate and just go after it. Just if it's in your heart, just go after it. And you wonder why when you get there, you're broke down, busted, and disgusted. You're depressed and you're tired and you're weary and well-doing. It's because you didn't have the information that was needed to get there. Oh, it's not about just when you get there, it's about how you get there. Oh my God. Ezekiel, slow down. I'm gonna do amazing things through you. Just slow down and evaluate. Walk through it. Walk through it. The more you know, the more impact you'll make. And I don't know if we teach this enough, Pastor Nikki, that we got so many people who are excited, but we honor God not just by being active, but by being informed. Informed. Evaluate, here it is, Ezekiel. Evaluate who you're called to. Oh, man. Evaluate who you are called to. In other words, understand their condition. Empathize with their reality. Here it is. Get in the valley with them. I'm called. Have you been in the valley? There's no such thing as a good smelling shepherd. I know you're a shepherd if you smell like sheep. A part of the call on your life is to be close enough to what you're called to that you're camouflaged. Did you know they had to ask which disciple was Jesus when they came to arrest him? The officers didn't know the difference. The biggest compliment I've ever received at the church, and I got it a few times, and I love whenever it happens, is when someone comes to me after church and say, I saw you in the lobby, but I had no idea you were the pastor. I had no idea. My friend told me to come. I was like, that voice sounds familiar. I didn't know you were the same guy from the radio. I literally didn't. You were just hanging out. You were just outside with cars, and I didn't know. You should be with sheep. I'm going to leave that alone because I feel like I'm offending people. But a pastor should smell like the pasture.
That's good. That's good.
If you're too good to pick up trash, you're too good for a microphone. Hey, Ezekiel, you're going to do great things, man. You're going to do great things. But before you get high and lifted up, let's get low enough to walk through Walk through the territory that you're called to. I'm trying to leave this, but this is good to me, man. What is Ezekiel doing in the valley? You saw Ezekiel in the valley? He used to be on the stage. Now he's in the valley. They used to have the biggest office. Now they in the... What is Jesus doing with the tax collector? What? This doesn't make sense to me. What is Devon Franklin doing in Hollywood? Call himself a preacher. What is Russell Wilson doing on a football field? Making all these tweets about Jesus. Why he just ain't doing it in church? Why they just not doing? What? It's because I should walk through the territory I'm called to. You can't be called to a place you're unfamiliar with. Oh my God. Let me leave this all the way alone. Let me leave I love some of my evangelical friends who said, I'm called to a diverse church, but you don't know anything about the opposite culture that you're called to. Walk through the valley. I remember I was working at a church one time, and it was like, we want more blacks in this church. I said, hey, here's a good start. Come with me to John P. Key Church tonight. It got real quiet in the boardroom. You should have something familiar with what you claim to be. Are you informed about the field that you feel called to? Man, the Spirit of it was God who put him there. The Spirit of, he didn't just wander there aimlessly. It was God who placed him in the valley, because before Ezekiel, you talk to it, you got to walk through it. Ooh, the power really, the power is not in how good you articulate. Moses. Paul said, I'm really not even a good speaker. The power is not in talent. The power is in testimony. I know you're anointed. As a matter of fact, the resumes I want to see for now, Reggie, ain't the many great things that you've done. I want to see resumes about valleys. I want to hire some people who done been through some stuff. I want to hire some people who say, please don't judge me by what I'm showing you. I need to see some testimonies, because I know you can be effective when you walk through. I have walked through the valley of the shadow of death. David says, I can sit on the throne because I've walked through a valley. And my question is, man, we're raising up so many people who are gifted, who can run around circles vocally, who can play the heck out of any instrument, but have no valley testimony. So when the wind comes blowing your way, you're ready to give up on life because you haven't been through the valley. But God says, Ezekiel, I have a plan, but before I expose the plan, let me expose the man. And let me place you in the valley so that you can learn about the territory that you're called to. If I was you, I would clap my hands for 10 seconds and say, God, thank you for the valley.